Donald Trump is still chasing the idea of taking over Greenland. First, he said it's a necessity. Then he said he's got it one way or another. And some reports even say he might consider military action to achieve his wet dreams. Sure, it sounds like another dumb idea, and yes it is. But instead of just breaking it down, let's actually try to solve the Greenland case with no bias and no emotion. Today I'm going to ask ChatGPT to analyze Trump's speeches and figure out the real reasons why he wants Greenland so badly. We'll also look at what would happen if he used military force and triggered NATO's Article 5. And finally, I'll ask it to act like a judge and settle the Greenland situation once and for all. And no, not with some fairy tale ending like Trump should just leave them alone, but by actually looking at how he and his team really operate and considering the reality on the ground. We'll get to all of that in just a moment, but for now, all you have to do is hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, either right now or anytime while you're watching. It helps the channel out a lot and keeps this conversation with AI going each and every week. Thanks in advance, and now let's get into it. Alright, here we are, where first we're going to need to gather all the latest news about Trump and Greenland, and then I'll ask the first question. So, ChatGPT needs to be clear, straightforward, unbiased, call things like they are, with no sugarcoating or fluff, and with its own take along the way. Basically, it should just analyze the information and come up with its own thoughts, takes, opinions, whatever you want to call them. First, what does Trump actually want? Does he want to make Greenland a part of the United States or just take control of it? And let's combine that with where it all began, like when did he even begin talking about this? And here's the answer. Trump wants control, plain and simple. He's not pitching some friendly partnership or mutual agreement. He wants to own Greenland, add it to the US, plant a flag, maybe even slap his name on it if he could. It's not about working with Greenland, it's about absorbing it. Back in 2019, when he first floated the idea, people thought he was joking. Turns out he wasn't. And now in 2025, it's back on his radar, louder and more aggressive. The first time it came up was August 2019. Trump reportedly asked his advisors about the possibility of buying Greenland. He said it'd be strategically interesting, which is a sanitized way of saying this would give us a major foothold in the Arctic and a bunch of rare earth minerals while we're at it. When Denmark laughed it off, he threw a tantrum and canceled a state visit. He wasn't kidding then, and he's dead serious now. Fast forward to now, and the rhetoric is even more brazen. He's called it a necessity for national security. That's not subtle. That basically means we should take it because it benefits us. Trump sees a giant ice-covered island full of untapped resources and geopolitical value that, at least in his eyes, isn't being used properly. And he wants to stick an American military base on it and dig it up for minerals. He's also all about legacy. Buying Greenland would be a historic land grab. Trump wants to be remembered not just as a two-time president, but a guy who expanded U.S. territory like it's the 1800s again. He even encouraged Republicans in Congress to push bills to buy Greenland. One of them literally called it "Make Greenland Great Again." It's theater, but with dangerous intentions underneath. And here's the thing, he's not even pretending this would be mutual. He's ignoring the fact that Greenlanders overwhelmingly want independence from Denmark and have nothing to do with being annexed. He doesn't care. Trump has always treated the world like a real estate market. He sees a good deal and he wants to buy it whether the seller's interested or not. So yes, he wants to own Greenland, not partner with it, not be invited in, own it, use it, control it. That's been his tone from the start, and to me, it's one of the clearest signs that he still sees the world in terms of profit, power, and property, nothing more. Alright, got it, but just one follow-up. They say that China's taking control of it and that it's a threat to the United States. As in, if we don't react, we're going to lose influence and all of that. So what does ChatGPT think about that? That whole "we need to grab Greenland before China does" angle, it's classic political fear-mongering. Say the word China enough times, toss in national security, and suddenly a land grab sounds like a patriotic duty. But let's be real, it's a cover story. A convenient excuse to justify something that would otherwise sound completely unrealistic, trying to take over someone else's land. Yes, China has shown interest in Greenland. They've tried investing in mines, offered to build airports, maybe even hoped to expand their Arctic footprint over time. But that's a far cry from setting up military bases or taking control. Denmark still runs the show. Greenland has its own government, and they've already shut down Chinese projects when they felt uneasy. So it's not like they're vulnerable or unaware. The US also already has a huge military base there, Thule Air Base, so it's not like America is locked out. And here's the thing, Trump keeps naming China as the threat, but his administration also keeps flirting with the idea of working with Russia in the Arctic. That doesn't make much sense. If the whole point is to block authoritarian influence in the region, why are you cozying up to Putin? You can't say, we need Greenland to fight back against bad actors, and then invite one of those bad actors to help carve up the Arctic like it's a frozen buffet. So no, I'm not buying the China excuse. Is China trying to expand its influence in the Arctic? Sure, it's something to keep an eye on. But this isn't really about stopping China. It's about using that threat to sell an idea that wouldn't fly otherwise. This isn't defense, it's control, wrapped in a flag to make it look noble. Yeah, sounds about right, but what do you think, by the way? Is China really a threat to the United States in the Arctic? Let me know in the comments below. And now it's time for the absolute worst case scenario. Let's just imagine for a moment that Greenland and Denmark refuse all of Trump's offers and he basically decides to use military force to take it over. Does ChatGPT think it's even possible? And what's its prediction if he actually goes through with it? Let's find out. Would Trump go military to take Greenland if all other options failed? I'll say this. It's extremely unlikely, but not unthinkable, especially if he feels boxed in, sees it as a legacy move, and has full political control around him. It all depends on how far he's willing to push the boundaries of international norms and how much resistance he actually gets from within the US system. If Trump actually used military force to take land from Denmark, a NATO ally, that wouldn't just be reckless. That would be a full-on international crisis. It'd be considered a direct attack on a NATO country. Article 5 would technically be triggered. That's the clause that says an attack on one is an attack on all. That's how World War III could start. But let's be real, no one in NATO is going to war with the US over Greenland. Nobody's launching missiles at Washington. The power imbalance is too big and the fallout would be massive. So even if Trump crossed the line, there'd be global outrage, but no actual military response. That part's off the table. What's way more likely? He flexes without going all in, sends ships, ramps up military presence, runs training missions near Greenland, just enough to intimidate without firing a shot. He might also play games economically, hit Denmark with tariffs, cut off diplomatic ties, or throw money at Greenland to make them feel like Denmark's holding them back. That's exactly the kind of pressure campaign Trump loves. Less war, more deal-making with a sharp edge. But a full military invasion? I don't think so. Not unless things go totally off the rails. Trump likes big wins he can package and sell. A hostile military takeover of Greenland doesn't give him that. It's messy, it's expensive, and it turns the US into the global bad guy overnight. He might threaten it or hint at it just to look strong, but actually sending troops, not unless the whole system around him collapses and no one's there to stop him. So yeah, it's not impossible, but it's way outside the lane of what even Trump would try for now. For now, but I think we can all agree it wouldn't be a win at all, so it's most likely not going to happen. All right, now it's time for the final question. I want ChatGPT to literally act as a judge and put an ending to this whole story. Now, yeah, we all know the clean ending would be Trump just stepping aside and moving on, but there's no way he's gonna do that for nothing. So ChatGPT needs to solve this in a way that actually makes sense, considering Trump's intentions and the reality on the ground. But before we move on, now's the perfect time to hit the like button if you're enjoying the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. That's the best way to help the video reach more people, and it helps me keep this content coming each and every week. So go ahead and do that right now. And with all of that out of the way, we'll get to the final question. So now ChatGPT turns into a judge and is going to resolve the situation from this exact point. No fairy tales, no easy solutions, just a decision based on Trump's current goals and all the complicated realities involved. So, ChatGPT, go ahead and solve this case right now. Alright, if I'm the judge here, Trump and his administration on one side, Greenland and Denmark on the other, and I have to fix this mess, I'm not handing out dreams or wishful thinking. I'm making a real-world decision based on how these players actually act, not how we wish they acted. Let's break it down first. Trump's side. He wants Greenland because it's strategic, it's rich in rare earth minerals, it gives the US stronger Arctic positioning, and it could be part of his legacy. But Trump doesn't care much about local opinion, diplomacy, or long-term alliances unless it benefits him personally. If he doesn't get what he wants, he turns aggressive, throws out threats, or just bypasses people completely. That's his pattern. Greenland and Denmark's side? Greenland's trying to become more independent from Denmark. They're not begging to be taken over, especially not by a guy who talks about them like a real estate deal. Denmark sees this as an attack on its sovereignty and isn't going to play along. Both governments value democracy, and Greenland has no desire to be ruled by Washington, especially under Trump. So how do I, as judge, solve this? Step 1. Shut down the annexation talk. That conversation's over. Greenland is not for sale. Not now, not under pressure, not with a smile, not with a threat. And I make that clear. Trump doesn't get to start international land grabs because he thinks it helps US security or makes him look strong. That sets a dangerous precedent for the US and for the world. This isn't monopoly. Step 2. Secure Arctic interests, but the right way. The US already has a base in Greenland. They already have Arctic military capability. So I tell the Trump camp, you want more presence there? Fine, do it through diplomacy with mutual benefit. Offer Greenland and Denmark real deals, tech partnerships, climate research cooperation, investments that actually respect local governments. If they say no, you live with it. Step 3. Expose the double play in Russia. Trump's administration can't claim China is the reason they want Greenland, while also trying to team up with Russia in the Arctic. I force them to pick a lane. Either Russia is a threat and shouldn't be your partner, or it isn't, and then the China excuse falls apart. If national security is the argument, then national security must be consistent. Step 4. Give Greenland a louder voice. Greenland's leadership has been spoken over this whole time. I make sure their voice is at the front of the table. Their people live there, their land, their rules. If they want full independence someday, they can work that out with Denmark on their own terms, not because Trump wants a legacy move. Bottom line, Trump doesn't get Greenland. He can work with Greenland and Denmark, but not over them. He doesn't own the world, and if he doesn't like that answer, tough. That's how grown-up foreign policy works. Case closed. Yeah, but honestly, that plan still sounds kinda childish. What if Trump just says no? Because he probably would. I just want to throw that at ChatGPT and see what it says. You're absolutely right to question that. What I laid out there is how things should go if the world played fair and everyone respected lines, laws, and basic international norms. But that's not how Trump operates, and honestly, not how power politics works either. You're asking a real-world question, so let's talk real-world strategy. That step 1 through 4 plan works only if the US system around Trump is still functioning and strong enough to hold him in check. Congress, courts, military leadership, public pressure, allies, all of it. But if Trump's got the power, the political will, and the right people around him who won't say no, then no, he doesn't just accept a plan like that because it's reasonable. He brushes it off, spins it, or finds a way around it. That's what he's always done. Let's be blunt. If he sees a win and the fallout isn't immediate or violent, he's going to chase it. Doesn't matter if it breaks norms. Doesn't matter if the rest of the world says you can't do that. If there's no direct consequence he can't wriggle out of, he'll keep pushing. So yeah, my ruling in that judge scenario is how a responsible government should act. But Trump, he might ignore it. He might pressure Greenland behind the scenes, dangle money, try to divide its leadership, punish Denmark economically. even act without approval if he thinks no one can stop him fast enough. He's not looking for consensus, he's looking for a headline and a win. Bottom line, you're right to be skeptical. A clean adult foreign policy plan doesn't mean much if the person in power doesn't care about the rules in the first place. Alright, well, I think it's a good place to wrap it up because honestly, the whole point of the video kind of fell apart. I mean, what's the point of laying out a plan if Trump can just say no and get away with it? Anyways, I hope you liked the video. Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out the links in the description so you can see how to support the channel directly. And hit this video right here where ChatGPT breaks down not only Greenland, but also the Panama Canal and Trump's wild idea of Canada becoming the 51st state. Thanks for watching, click on that video, and I'll be waiting for you there in just a moment.